But even, I believe, more important and more actually, probably telling more about Eitan's personality is the extremely large number of co-authors, extremely large number of people he has been publishing with. And I mean, you might not agree with the number from Google Scholar in terms of publications, but this is actually true. These are people with whom he co-authored something related to science and published. Of course, there is also the third dimension. Eitan has been cutting across a number of different domains. This has been discussed quite a lot during the day, so I'm not going into it. But one thing which has been kind of overlooked, I think, is his ability to really bridge domain. Take a method from something and apply it to a completely different domain. Which, you know, I mean, in this write-up from Borkar before he was mentioning hyperactivity. I think Eitan is also hyper-curiosity. The fact that I think that, I mean, he's just curious. He wants to solve problems. And, you know, and if you take these facts together, large number of publications, extremely large number of co-authors, very different problems he has been working with, well, there is one person that pops to, I'm pretty sure, everybody's mind, which is Paul Erdős. You know, the famous Hungarian mathematician who lived in the first half of the 20th century. He was actually very famous for this kind of, you know, eccentric lifestyle. He basically had no home. He would just go around, knock at the house of some poor mathematicians, stick to their place, make their life miserable until they could solve a problem and get it published. And then he would just go somewhere else. And one of the reasons Erdős is famous outside, of course, the mathematics community, is the Erdős number. The Erdős number, which is basically the distance in the collaboration network between any mathematician and Paul Erdős. Because, you know, he was really publishing a lot with a lot of people. Now, there are a lot of facts about it. For example, the people who won the Fields Medal have a median Erdős number equal to 3. So in a sense, they are close. And being close to Erdős is considering something which is actually kind of a quality metric. By the way, Eitan's Erdős number is 3, if I got it correct, right, Eitan? I know it. I found a path of length 3. So I mean, there might be a shorter one, but it is at most 3. And also the fact that, you know, the mathematics community is pretty well connected. So apparently the whole mathematics community has a diameter less than 10. So basically anybody in the world is at most at distance 9 from Paul Erdős. And when, of course, I looked at it, the obvious question popped to my mind. So what's your Eitan number? So as we have Erdős number for mathematics, well, we should also have Eitan number for, not for a specific disciplines, but for whatever Eitan has been working on. And so I'm actually glad to present you today the Eitan number project. No, this is serious, but I mean, before showing it what it is and how it works, let me actually acknowledge some people in UHopper who worked for the past few weeks quite a lot to make this happen. Carlo, who led the whole project. Stefano, that worked on the data collection and ingestion. Nicolò, who worked on the implementation of the graph-based measures and computations. Rossana, who designed and implemented the web portal of the Eitan number project. Christian, who worked out what we call the Eitan index, more to come on this later on. And last but not least, Eleonora, who worked on the integration with social media and the marketing side. Okay, so, well, let's see if this works. You know, demo are always kind of a bit risky, but, well, this is what we are here for, right? So, this is actually the Eitan number project web page. And how it works, well, it's actually pretty straightforward. You put a name here, and it just returns you the Eitan number. So let's start with Eitan himself. Of course, if it doesn't work for him, it would be totally broken. And it tells you that, of course, the Eitan number of Eitan is 0. And we also developed something which is a little bit more complex, which is what we call the Eitan index, which is a measure of how good you have been at spreading the knowledge, of course, of which Eitan was the source, right? And of course, well, no one can do better of Eitan. So at least this one works. Let me try with some others. Let me try with myself, okay? So for example, I have an Eitan number of 1. We have published, I think, some 20 or 30 pages together, papers together. And I have an Eitan index of 1.51. And I mean, you see there is actually a little, some small write-up on how basically we can compute this Eitan index. This comes from Christian. I mean, not going into formulas here. But let me give you also some other example. Let's look, for example, well, at Francesco, who is sitting up there. So he has also an Eitan number of 1, but apparently he has been better than me at spreading Eitan's knowledge, because he has a smaller Eitan index. Well, we have Rashid, we have a lot of other people. Rashid actually has a higher Eitan index, so he's not doing very well. Where is Rashid, by the way? He's not here, so you actually see what's the reason. But you can actually look also at other people. Let's look, for example, at Nahum. Let's see if he's there, okay? By the way, this works actually pretty well if you have a verified Google Scholar profile. If you don't, there is still some noise, but we are working on fixing. Just to give you an idea, we have indexed more than 58,000 scholars. And we have about 300,000 publications that we index. And this is basically growing every day. So also Nahum has Eitan number of 1. Hey Nahum, I've been doing better than you at sharing Eitan's knowledge. You should work a little bit more on this. Okay, let's look at Ulti, for example, is here, okay. By the way, we don't have the Eitan, we have Eitan numbers. Let's see, Ulti here, okay. Eitan number, Eitan index, well, Ulti sucks a bit, huh? Come on. Huh? The Eitan index, there are some formulas. You can just go on the website and check it yourself. But it's basically a measure of how much you published with Eitan and what is the citation counts of the publications that you wrote together with Eitan. So if you publish a lot and your joint works get a lot of citations, that number is going to shrink. And I mean, the best is 0, and only Eitan can have it. Okay? I was basically saying, well, let's look, for example, at Tamer. Do we have Tamer here? Yes. Let's say Tamer, you see, he has an Eitan number of 1, but we haven't computed yet the Eitan index. I'm sorry, Tamer, but I mean, you see, this is real, and I mean, it is growing because for the Eitan number, we just need to basically get all the authors of all Eitan's publications, and of course of the ones who worked with Eitan. But for the Eitan number, we need to also get the citations counts of all publications. And as Google Scholars doesn't expose APIs, we are doing in a kind of, well, gray zone from the legal perspective, so we cannot really make too many calls to Google, otherwise it would block us. Okay, so just to give an example, I mean, this is, for example, Carlo, who is the guy who basically led the development, and he never published with Eitan, but he has a couple of papers with me, so his Eitan number is 2. At the moment, we have mapped all the people with Eitan number up to 2. We are moving now into the guys who have Eitan number of 3, which should actually include Paul Erdos.